The video off me. How do I do that? No, I can't.
Okay, we're about to be broadcast. We are recording. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us this Tuesday morning, June 9th, another beautiful day. My name is Bob Zuckerman. I'm the Executive Director of the Downtown Westfield Corporation, and I am joined by our Mayor, Shelley Brindle, and a Councilwoman who's liaison to the DWC, Dawn Mackey. Mayor or Councilwoman, would you like to start with any introductory remarks before we actually get into the program?
No, I just want to, thank you, Bob, and everybody at the DWC, and very importantly, thank you to all the businesses that have been weighing in on, on what you would like to see. And, we're trying to find the right balance between ensuring the health and safety of our residents, which is first and foremost, while facilitating an environment that ensures our businesses are as successful as they can be. And those are not mutually exclusive. So I think today Bob is going to present a bit of what we're looking for based upon the input from so many different people. And I'm sure he'll say it too, but I'll just reiterate. This is a bit of uncharted water, and it's a trial for all of us. And I just want to reiterate our commitment to make sure that our businesses are successful, because if this doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for us. So it's going to require a lot of patience, I think, for everyone, but just know we are prepared to adapt and change as necessary. So communication on how things are going is going to be key. So thanks to all of you, and thank you, Bob, for leading this, and for Nikki and Beth, and for Dawn too, who's played a big role in trying to facilitate a lot of this communication. So thank you.
You're very welcome. I also just want to acknowledge that I'm joined here by my team at DWC, Beth Brenner and Nikki McAuliffe. So thanks to both Beth and Nikki, who have been instrumental in putting this together. Okay, so this plan comes from the reopening task force, which the mayor initiated, and I had the honor to chair. And it was made up of a number of business owners, a number of property owners, a number of government officials, people from the administration, police chief or fire chief, Scott from parking, Craig from DPW, just a whole range of people that whose input was really important and very much needed. So this plan comes out of that. It also comes from the surveys that we have done. So we did 2 surveys. The first survey was to the public. We had over 2,000 people respond, and it was basically asking the public what it was that they wanted in terms of our reopening, which we knew was forthcoming. And then we surveyed our businesses as well, and to ask them about the different options and how they would feel about it, how they would respond, how it would affect their business operations. So we're hopeful that this plan is really a win-win for everybody, that it's a win for the public, not just Westfield residents, all the visitors that we get from surrounding towns, and for the businesses as well, because we took all of their suggestions and recommendations very, very much to heart. So with that, we'll start with the plan, and then we'll have time for Q&A. People can ask questions below. I believe there's a Q&A button, and if not, then people can ask questions, can send us questions either at my email, b.zuckerman@westfieldtoday.com, or at info@westfieldtoday.com. So let's start with the first part. I should say that the first part of the plan is regards to retail. And if you are a retailer and you're watching this and you don't want to hear the whole part about the restaurants, because that's a little bit more involved, then you don't have to stay on the webinar. But it might be of interest to you since everything is integrated in our downtown. We're also going to be talking about our pedestrian-only open street later on in the program. So let's start with retail. So essential retail, as the governor had defined it in his original executive order, has been open since the pandemic, but it's been open for delivery, curbside pickup, and online orders only. As of next Monday, June 15th, non-essential retail operations can open. as long as they comply with the original executive order in terms of maintaining social distancing, all employees must wear masks. And now in this new executive order, the limited occupancy is still in effect. It's up to 50% of maximum capacity. So if you can normally fit 10 people, 10 customers in your store, you can now have 5 and no more than that. This will start, like I said, this coming Monday, June 15th. And what the council and the mayor are looking to do tonight at their council meeting, their stated meeting, is they will be passing a resolution. We hope they'll be passing it, but I think they will be, that will allow retailers to put a table outside your store all the time. So normally, you know, there's certain days that the town allows sidewalk sales. Now, every day for the time being can be a sidewalk sale if you have the capacity with your staff, your employees, and you're so able to put a table outside your establishment to sell merchandise.
Hey, Bob, I don't mean to interrupt, but
no, please do.
No, just Annette from Farinola is having a hard time getting on, so I don't know if someone can help. This she just sent us an email. So.
Oh, okay.
I'll send her an email.
Okay, thanks, Nikki. I appreciate that. So that's sort of the retail component. Non-essential retail, clothing, shoes, you know, all those types of products and goods that the government did not classify as essential can now reopen. So that's why it's a much more full reopening of our downtown. And by the way, this retail, all the things that I'm saying here in terms of retail and restaurants also exist for the businesses that are outside of the downtown. So that are outside of the boundaries of the special improvement district. So if you're a retailer in an area outside of the SID, you can do the same thing. So that's the first part on retail. Now we'll go to part 2. We don't have a lot of information on this yet, but we have some. We have the start date. So that's hair salons and barbershops. I know a lot of people have been looking to get back to their salons and barbershops, me included. June 22nd, that's 2 weeks from yesterday, so a week from this coming Monday, is when hair salons and barbershops can reopen. We are still awaiting the additional guidelines from the state, from the governor, mayor, or councilwoman. I have not heard anything. I don't know if either of you have on this particular sector, but we will make sure that we share whatever guidelines we get with all of our salons and hair cutting establishments as soon as we receive them, in terms of what they have to do to comply with, so that they can reopen on the 22nd. So that's hair salons and barbershops. Now we're going to go into outdoor dining. Okay, this one's a little more complicated, but for a lot of reasons, but we think we found a good workable solution for all of our food establishments and restaurants. So under the new governor's executive order 150, the town is allowed to is allowed to have restaurants and other establishments expand their footprint for outdoor dining, both in front of their property and on adjacent properties. Let me explain that. So restaurants and food establishments still are not allowed to serve indoors. That's coming hopefully soon. We'll let everybody know when that is allowed, but that is not part of the reopening plan for next Monday. But the outdoor dining is. And what I mean by they're allowed to expand their dining both in front of their property and on adjoining sidewalks or nearby sidewalks is that like usual, if you're looking to have an outdoor cafe, a sidewalk cafe, you need to file a permit with the clerk's office. The permit fee will be waived this year, so you will not have to pay any fee. If you sent yours in early and you've already paid the fee, that will be refunded to you. So no one will have to pay, no restaurants will have to pay this year for outdoor dining, okay? Now, The council, as I said, is voting on a resolution tonight to permit this legally. And tomorrow morning, the clerk's office, our clerk, is going to be sending out Tara Rowley. Is that her name? Tara. Is going to be sending you out all the restaurants. She has a list of all the food establishments in Westfield, both in the downtown and outside of the downtown. She's going to be sending you the permit application. And what you're going to have to do is return that along with proof of insurance and a sketch. You can literally sketch it out showing where your outdoor tables are. Okay, so the sketch can literally be handwritten. If you do not have a lot of space in front of your establishment, you may be able to go next door or possibly even a little further down the sidewalk. And the town will allow that. And the reason the town will allow that is that the executive order from the governor gives the town the permission to do this because the town controls the right of way on sidewalks. It is not the property owner who owns the sidewalks, it's the town of Westfield. So with the municipal right of way, the town of Westfield can then say, okay, if you need more space because your tables are going to have to be socially distanced from each other, you're not going to be able to put the same amount of tables you normally could in front of your establishment. The back of each chair from table to table needs to be at least 6 feet apart. So you need to keep that 6 feet social distancing. And then you can have outdoor tables, but you may want to expand beyond what you already have. So that's where the sketch comes in, and the clerk's office will review them to make sure that everything is okay and that you're not taking too much space or that there aren't two restaurants who are trying to take the same space. We can go back to that other slide just for a moment. Back to that one, right? So the one caveat here is that restaurants cannot infringe on the normal business operations of their neighbors. So let's say you have a restaurant and you want to expand your outdoor seating to the retail store that's right next to you. You should be able to do that. That's not a problem. But if the store is open till 6 o'clock and they have outdoor tables, you need to work with your neighbor to make sure that you're not impinging on their business operations. So once they're closed and they brought their table in, their merchandise, then you can set up your tables, but you can't interfere with the normal business operations of your neighbor. So we all have to work cooperatively and be good neighbors with each other to make this all work.
Hey, and Bob.
Yes.
And it's true that they don't necessarily even have to be adjacent, correct?
That is correct. So there may be an example where you are, let's say, one business away from the corner. There's a corner business, then your restaurant, then another business. And there may be space, let's say, around the corner. So within a few feet of walking distance for your wait staff to be able to serve around the corner. You can include that in your sketches. So it doesn't have to be right in front or even literally right next door. It could be 2 or 3 storefronts away. The requirement is from the governor's office that as long as the town is doing this equitably, this is all allowed. So that's the real key. So that's a very good point, Mayor. Okay, next slide. Okay. There's going to be a checklist that the clerk will send along with the outdoor cafe application. And the checklist will have a whole number of requirements from the State Department of Health. See, it's this directive here from the State Health Department. And you are going to have to sign off, if you're a restaurateur, that you will abide by all of these protocols for food and beverage establishments. So it includes things like post signage at the entrance that states that no one with a fever or symptoms of COVID should enter the establishment. limit seating to a maximum of 8 people per table, and arrange seating to a range of 6 feet. So it's all, disinfect all tables and chairs on a regular basis after each table has been used. So it's those kinds of health protocols that you would imagine would be established so that we can all make sure that there is the maximum amount of safety, and most importantly, safety from the consumer point of view, so that all of our consumers feel safe to go and dine out, because that's what this is all about, right? People need to feel comfortable to be able to do that. So you will be asked to sign that document that you have read these protocols and that you agree to abide by them. Next slide, please. Okay, now we'll talk, this only affects a few, but it's important for those few. So those are the establishments with existing liquor licenses. The state has set up a brand new permit called a COVID-19 expansion permit with the state ABC, the Alcoholic Beverage Control Department. And this new permit will allow the licensed establishments to expand their premises onto the adjacent or contiguous properties with the licensed premises. And the outdoor dining establishments that have liquor licenses will have to submit their COVID-19 expansion permit with the state ABC, but they are promising very, very quick turnaround. For licensed establishments, you have been able to already sell to-go alcoholic beverages in plastic with covers on them. You do not need a new permit to continue to do that. So if that's all you're looking to do and you're not looking to serve alcohol outside, then you won't need a special COVID-19 permit. But for those who do want to serve alcoholic beverages outside, you will need this permit as well. And we will make sure by tomorrow morning, all of those restaurants that have liquor licenses, there aren't that many of them, will receive an application for that permit. Okay, that's the outdoor dining portion. Now we're going to switch to additional space that we are going to create. So I know that Westfield had in the past a parklet, and I know that there was some sort of concern about it from some folks. But what we're going to do is we're going to experiment with it's not really a parklet, we're going to extend concrete barriers on Prospect Street in front of a couple of different food establishments, just as sort of an experiment to see if it works. And then additional space can be considered. We could expand this potentially. So the parking spots in front of, I believe it's Rockin' Joe's and 16 Prospect, will go away and be replaced by concrete barriers so that those establishments will be able to use that space. We felt that, well, maybe the mayor should address why, the sort of the rationale behind this particular part of the opening plan.
Well, for one thing, it's a one-way street and it's not heavily trafficked. So even with the consultation with our police chief, it felt like that was a pretty manageable and easy place to do it while managing public safety and without too much disruption to traffic flow. And so we figured we'd start there. And with this 16 Prospect also having a liquor license, we'd like to be able to enable, be able to serve drinks outside, and it might better facilitate their ability to do that. So depending upon how it works and if everybody feels comfortable with it, and depending on the feedback we get from other businesses, it could be considered elsewhere. But we thought, we'll see how the sidewalk thing does for most people and the expansion. And if we feel like we need more space, we can revisit those parking. And as you know, with every parklet you put in, you're removing curbside parking. So I think part of it's trying to balance what we've heard from a lot of people about wanting to maintain curbside parking space while expanding outdoors. So but 16 Prospect Street in that specific area seemed to be well suited to do it without too much disruption on either side.
Thanks, Mayor. That's a great explanation. So yes, we're doing it there with the concrete barriers, and we're open to doing it in other places too, and possibly expanding this. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, street closures. This is something that came back in the public survey that we had conducted that I mentioned earlier, where over 2,000 people responded. So it was very clear to us that as closing, or I like to use the term opening streets for pedestrians only. Open streets is a term that is used quite frequently in the place management field that I am in, or that we're in. And I like the positivity of the open streets because it allows you to do more things and program. But the survey came back that 81% of the public said that they are either much more likely or more likely to shop and dine downtown if we have pedestrian only streets at some point during the course of the summer. So we took that to heart, that this is something that the public really, really wants, and will bring more people downtown, which is, I know, a goal of all of us. So we are going on a trial basis for 3 weeks. We are going to experiment with closing Quimby Street to cars, so pedestrians only, between the hours of 3 p.m. on Friday and 8 a.m. on Monday, so essentially the weekend. This is a trial basis for 3 weeks, and if we believe it's successful and it's working for our businesses and it's working and the public loves it, then we can continue it. And the restaurants in that block will be able to move tables onto the street for expanded outdoor dining during these weekend hours. Additionally, we, the DWC, we're going to be programming the street during the weekends. So what does that mean? That means on Saturdays and Sundays, we're going to be, you'll start your morning with outdoor yoga, and we'll have exercise classes, and we're looking to bring chalk art out for the kids, get some chalk so the kids can express themselves on the street, play on the street. And at night, what we're looking to have is live music, to bring that back on both Saturday and Sunday nights for all 3 weekends. And again, if we expand this, then that will continue throughout the summer. So I'm looking forward to this. I think it's really going to work. But there was another concern that a lot of our businesses had about doing this. If we could go to the next slide, and we'll explain how we're looking to resolve that concern. So,
hey, Bob, just one thing on the musicians. Sure. I just want to clarify. We're not talking about like the Sweet Sounds types of bands. You're thinking about
no.
Or like guitar players, like.
Correct. We're going to have either solo or maybe duos. We're not going to have big bands. We're social distancing. There's not going to be any of that kind of music, as much as I would love it. But we're going to be talking about, like, keyboardists with a microphone, or a guitar player, or a duo, something to that effect. So that's the kind of music that we're going to.
It's about ambiance as opposed to attracting a crowd. So,
that's right.
Yes.
That's right. That's exactly right. So the concern that was expressed to us from many of the businesses, not just on Quimby, but also on Elm Street, was, well, if you do that, you're going to take away our parking. You're going to take away the parking spots for curbside pickup and deliveries. And that's going to really hurt us, because that's been our, pun intended, bread and butter since COVID started, because that is really how restaurants have been able to bring in revenue, since no one's been indoor dining. We think we've solved that problem through a couple of different means. Number one, so beginning next Monday, and my colleague Beth has already ordered the bags, all the parking spots on Quimby and Elm will be bagged and will say 15-minute express parking only. So those spots on Elm and Quimby will be used only for curbside pickup and delivery. for delivery vehicles. And that includes your Uber Eats and your DoorDash and those other types of deliveries, Delivery Now, or those other types of delivery services. So
Bob, what about Broad Street? I thought we were doing Broad Street too.
we did not do Broad Street yet. We could add Broad Street onto that. We did not. Broad Street was not part of the original plan.
Yeah, I maybe we can get some input on that, whether Broad Street that should be included as part of 15-minute only as well. I was thinking all downtown street metered parking would be 15-minute only, period. And everybody else would need to park in the lots.
We need to park in the lot.
But get feedback on that. But that's what we were, I think, originally thinking.
We certainly could expand it to Broad Street, and if we do that, then we will get that word out as well, and you'll see the same number of you'll see the same bags on those meters as you see on Elm and Queen. Right. So that if you're looking for longer term parking, as the mayor said, you need to park in a parking lot, not on the street. Additionally, what we'll do with the barriers that our DPW and our police department use to close off Quimby Street is, instead of putting them at the crosswalks where they've been previously, we're going to move them in several feet on each side of Quimby. And what that's going to do is allow additional spots for additional spaces for cars to quickly pull up, get their takeout, get their curbside pickup, and leave. So that's how we feel we've accomplished the dealing with the whole 15-minute parking spots, because we know how critically important that is to our downtown restaurants. That's very, very, very important. Next slide, please. I think that is that the end of our presentation? No. Yes, customers looking for longer term parking will be able to park on other adjacent streets and in the parking lots. Now, a couple other things about this, is this is important for all of our businesses. We're going to be really making sure that that all of our businesses comply with this. The business employees should not be parking on the street. We know that happens, that there's meter feeding. That can't happen during this summer. That we can't have that. We need to keep these spots for our customers. That's what these spots are for. So if you don't have employee permits for your employees, please talk to parking at the PD and make sure that you get permits so that your employees can park at the available spots in either it's the South Avenue commuter train station, correct? And the parking lot behind Barron's. Are there any others, Mayor or Councilwoman, that they can park?
Yeah, there's the traditional parking is also, I would say, we don't anticipate the South Avenue commuter lot being full for quite some time. So I would say that's always a go-to, and that's free. There's also employee parking. By where the Verizon store is, all of back there and on that corner lot at the corner of Central and North Avenue. But it's essentially anywhere, but it's in everybody's best interest to make sure that we reserve the most convenient parking for our customers. So just really encourage employees to park elsewhere. We've noticed recently on Quimby, those spots seem to be not turning over. We don't know if it's the construction workers or employees, but we're going to start being fairly adamant about ensuring that those are 15-minute only. And again, we're all trial and error, right? And if we have more 15-minute parking that's being used, we'll adjust accordingly. But we just want to make sure that we are really giving our businesses the opportunity to really continue to benefit from the curbside business.
Right. And there's one more thing I wanted to mention, and this is for the all the exercise and facilities and personal service and gyms, that yes, we're going to be programming them to be on Quimby Street, but also they can now do classes in the parks, right? And they need a permit from the rec department to be able to do that. So so that is our plan. And I will say that I want to thank the entire task force and the mayor and the councilwoman for all their input and all the public. It's been quite a process, but I'm very proud with the plan that we have come up with. And you know, this is all an experiment. As I know, this is a cliche, but we are in uncharted territory. We've never been through anything like this before, so we really need to make sure that that everyone has that. You know, that everyone is okay with this, and that we have a consensus. We think we have that. We think this is the plan to do it. We may have to adjust here and there. But I think we're all very happy with this plan. I believe that one of our attendees, Stephen Bigmore, has a question, so we're going to allow him to talk, and maybe he comes up with Stephanie, but I believe it's not Stephanie, it's Stephen.
No, I think it's Stephanie. How are you?
Oh, it is Stephanie. Okay, Stephanie.
Yeah, we're a tag team. It's Stephanie and Stephen. It just,
Okay.
That's how it is.
All right, Stephanie.
Hey, thank you for everything you guys are doing. We're really all trying to make this work. Just a quick question as far as bagging the meters in front of the spots. And I know, you know, even during the holiday times, we do like the 15-minute parking and all of that, but we still notice that people pull up and still park there for 2 hours in front of the establishment. So as as a restaurant owner, what do we actually do? And we see people pulling up. You know, you don't want to go out there and say, can you please move your car? It's 15 minutes. And usually they're in and out very quickly. But there's those people that just park and they're there all day.
I think, Stephanie and Shelley, I think we talked to I think we are prepared to enforce. And for that very reason. And one of the reasons we're putting the bags on the meters is so that there's no doubt exactly what it's intended to do. And I think we're going to let people know that we're prepared to, I mean, I think, you know, we're just going to see how widely abused it is, but honestly, we're going to need the business's assistance to let us know where the, you know, the violators are and where it's the worst. But we'll let the public know that we're prepared to enforce, and that's specifically why we're bagging the meters. That nobody could say they didn't know.
Okay, no, good point. And then as far as the train station parking, is that going to, are they going to be up and running and people are going to be using the meters? How is that going to work?
Oh, you mean the North Avenue station?
Yes.
Yeah, that's not, I think you tell us. I think we are anticipating that stays longer term. That's not 15 minutes. So that would be traditional parking as it exists today.
Okay. Yep. Perfect.
Great.
That's it.
Thank you, Stephanie.
So yeah, think about only this, when you think about the intention of the 15 meter is specifically for curbside. So that's why the street stuff is intended to be that way. Anything that's not street is going to revert to its, you know, traditional parking requirement.
Okay, perfect.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. I think that we have another question from Joanna Rapuzzi.
Hi.
Unmuted. Hi, Joanna.
Hi, I'm from AR Workshop Westfield. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for all this great information. I just had a quick question. So for businesses like mine that kind of don't fall in any category, how do you think I should handle opening on my end? Now, I have a small retail section that I'll be opening, you know, when retail opens on Monday. But the majority of my business is the in-workshop crafting. It seems that we can open for camps at a small capacity, but that's July 6th. I'm just curious if you guys have any insight onto that.
I don't, Joanna, but you know, you raise a very interesting question, because I'm aware of your business, and I know, and you're right, it doesn't fit into a traditional, I mean, you have a retail component, but you're not a traditional retailer. You're more of an experiential retailer. I will research that today and get back with you so that I can give you as much information as I'm able to discern from the state on how a business like yours can proceed as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. I
Happy to do
appreciate that.
Joanna, is there stuff that you could put on in front of your store, the retail side, kind of like, you know, just as a way to kind of get people back into it?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great point.
Yeah, because that's one thing we're encouraging. Like it's kind of like the sidewalk sales when people have stuff outside. Like that's something that's allowed. So as a way just to engage your customers, you could actually put stuff on your sidewalk in front and sell kits, and you know, in anticipation of a more traditional experience.
Yes, definitely. Thank God the sidewalk on North Avenue is double wide. So
Exactly. That's why I was thinking you're well suited. Yeah, you're well suited for that.
we can definitely do something out there to make it fun. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
And you know, Joanna, depending upon, I'm trying to recall who your immediate neighbors are. I think it's Kennedy's. I don't know. You could talk to your immediate neighbors too, and if they'll allow you to expand your footprint a little bit into their space, that's allowed too.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, we have a vacancy actually next door. So.
Oh, well, then there you go.
Perfect.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Joanna. We have another question from Terri Dionisio. Terri, are you unmuted? Let's see. Okay, Terri, I think you're able to speak now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Okay. So, quick question. Is there going to be a guideline for the tables we put out, that like size or anything like that? You know, as we're talking about putting a table on the street, do you have a suggestion for us on that? And then the second thing is with employee parking, the lot that is at the corner, when you go all the way to the end of the train station and you go and you end up on like South and Central Avenues. So I had found, now that we have the two medical buildings, you know, that open, the Women's Health and the, you know, the Atlantic Healthcare Systems, those lots by 1 o'clock were almost full before the quarantine. So like in the beginning of March, if I came in at 1 o'clock, there was probably about 4 or 5 spots left in that lot that used to be totally empty. So if you're moving employee parking, you know, so then the spots that were open were at the end of Elm Street up by the ShopRite. So it's like up by ShopRite, and then is that Elmer? You know, so I'm just saying it was becoming that whole lot was full. So if we're moving everyone into that, it was just, and then do I have to give my employees do I have to buy them a permit so they can park in employee parking?
I would say for now, no, don't forget that the South Avenue train lot is available and it's free. Okay. And it's actually closer than some of the things that you're suggesting. So I would just say, I would encourage any of those areas. And I don't think you're going to have to worry about, so technically we're not moving employees to anywhere. This is where employees should have been parking all along.
In the first place. Well, in
the first place, exactly. And just on a longer term view, I mean, we need to really address employee parking, period, because as we all know, it's been a contributor to the parking issue we have in town. At the no fault of anybody's, it's just the way it's been. So we're going to address that longer term. But in the meantime, those are the things I would suggest. And the idea is not to penalize employees. What we're really trying to do is make sure that you get appropriate turnover in town, that you guys can support your customers. So, but I think the safest bet for employees is in that Verizon lot that you mentioned, uptown, or in the South Avenue train lot.
And as far as the guidelines, Terri, the guidelines will come with the email from the clerk's office, but feel free to reach out to me or Beth or Nikki, and we'll try to help you figure out where, you know, you can place these tables so that it works for you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Hey, Bob, I'm sorry, I have a question about that. Was there guidance? Someone had mentioned, is there guidance on, like, is there 4 tops or 6 tops, or is there any
The rule is that you can't have more than 8 people.
At one table.
That's correct. That's the rule. Yes. Thea Jackson had a question. So I think Thea's been unmuted. Thea?
Hi. I'm glad Joanna spoke up because I have a very similar business. It's a workshop where you make your own jewelry. I do also have a camp that I'm doing at 50% capacity in the store, but would love to do it outside too. I did ask Dawn the other day if I could put my tent outside on the corner, which it was an emphatic yes, and now I know why it was such an emphatic yes, that we're allowed to put the tents out there. But you mentioned that yoga places and different things like that could get a permit from the rec department to do things in the park. Would I be allowed to do my summer camp in Mindawaskan Park? Is there a charge for the permit? And also, I do a lot of birthday party business, so I could do those at 50%. But is that, can I take it outdoors, you know, at the park and other places like that?
So Thea, I can address that. So the issue with the parks was that we specifically designated it to be for gyms and fitness facilities that were not allowed to open at all indoors, to give them some start. As soon as they allow for gyms to go back in fitness capacity, fitness centers to go back indoors, we're going to no longer allow it in our parks. So I think because you're already one that's able to operate at 50% capacity, it's going to be limited to gyms and fitness facilities for now. And I think what we're going to see is, I guess is once they allow gyms and fitnesses to go back, they're also going to allow some organized sports, which means that we're going to have, and then our own camps for town are going to be taking place, and they can no longer happen at the school. So there's going to be a lot of town stuff that's going to be happening on the parks, organized sports. So it's unlikely that there's going to even be space available for recreation type stuff to be in our parks anyway. But to the degree that we can help you downtown and within the space in the tent, we will absolutely 100% do that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Thea. We have another, yes, Dawn, yes, I'm sorry.
Thea, Thea's business, which has really been completely unable to operate all these months. It's a very tiny space. Maybe we could offline this conversation with Quimby Street on weekends. Maybe there's a way. Her store is so close to Quimby Street.
Yep.
So when we talk about an expansion, maybe there's something we can do closer to the Warby Parker where there isn't a restaurant right now, but maybe it's something we should really try to make an accommodation for if it's possible.
That's actually a good idea. Maybe there's like an AR workshop and a Just Bead Yourself as part of the programming for Quimby Street. That's actually really, those are good. That's a great idea.
Yep. And I want to encourage other businesses who have those kinds of ideas for programming to reach out to us, reach out to Nick.
And I actually sent Thea and Joanna and a bunch of other businesses that I thought might have programming an email last night, and it's attached to a Google form that asks you, when you would want to do something and how long and what it is that you want to do. So please fill out that form and get back to me, and we'll try to, figure out what will work.
I have something to say actually about that form.
Okay.
I noticed that, I forgot the exact wording, but it seemed like these classes that you were offering were pretty much free. And that's, my camps and things like that are not free. I mean, I know that you could charge a material fee for it, but it seemed like it was aimed at what can you do free on the street. It seemed, and maybe I got it wrong, but that's what it seemed like. Is that true?
Yeah, it was pay what you want plus the materials fee. And if that's something that doesn't work for you, let's talk about it offline and figure out how to make it work.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say that's right. Just what all options are on the table, I think.
Correct.
So don't use that as a barrier to participation.
Okay.
I just want to weigh in because I've been heavily involved with the street programming the last several years. It's completely appropriate to charge market rate for these things. Even when we charge a nominal rate, and I know Beth could speak to this, the crowds we get are completely untenable. We need to make this equivalent to if they were going to go inside a store. And I think we have to do it by appointment to keep the crowds down. But Beth will know that we've had like frenetic running back and forth to craft stores. If we only charge $5 for a craft on the street to try to keep up with demand. So I think that there's enough interest that they can charge the market rate and they'll still get interest, and at least it'll keep in. Beth, would you want to jump in there?
No, I would just say I agree, Dawn. I think that actually, and I think residents are going to understand. I mean, the whole purpose of this is to make sure that we can keep our businesses in business. So I think they will understand and fully expect to pay the value of the services that you're providing. So
I concur.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Kelly Bennett has a question. Kelly.
Hi.
Hi.
So I, as Thea and a number of other people, I'm on a second floor. I'm a music school, Valencia School of Music. And one of the questions I had obviously we don't have a storefront, but we have a couple vacancies nearby. I have a really great relationship with the restaurants next door, like on the first floor below us. Is it okay for us to also put out a table, even though we don't have that storefront, if we kind of coordinate with the spaces around us?
I would think yes, Kelly, but I think the coordination is the key, right?
Absolutely.
We don't want businesses, fighting over outdoor real estate, but
yeah.
But yes, work with your property, work with your fellow businesses.
There's definitely some vacancies, so I kind of want to.
Yep.
I'll run that by you guys.
Yep.
And then also, this is just a general statement because Joanna and Thea, I'm feeling you. I was lucky enough to be able to run lessons over Zoom, but we're down like 35%. But anyone who has a question, my dad's actually he's a safety administration regulation guy for hospitals. So if anyone has any questions about like he walked through our whole space, he talked about how to put the signage up, all of that. Like, I'm always happy to be a resource if anyone has questions. And we're actually waiting to reopen until July 6th so that we can do it right and keep everybody safe. We don't want to rush it. And we're actually, our 50% capacity is like almost 200 or 300 per week. So we're actually keeping it to 10% right now. And then we're going to actually slowly open it up just because it's one-on-one and everything. So, but if anyone ever has any questions about what to do inside their space, any recommendations, Valencia Music is always happy to help.
Terrific.
So, yeah.
Love that. Team spirit. Okay. Thank you, Kelly. We have a question from Patricia Brading. Patricia.
Yes. Thank you for all the work you're doing. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to do the 15-minute parking on Lenox? Because there's always been a challenge with the postal workers parking in front of the spa, the spa and the dentist. During curbside pickup, I had to ask everyone to park in the driveway so that I could give them their product.
We hadn't thought about that, but I don't know, Councilwoman or Mayor, do you have any thoughts on that?
We'll talk to our parking officer and see what we could do. At the very least, it would be good if we could designate a couple spots for you specifically on Lenox.
Okay, thank you.
But we'll add it to our list, Bob, of things to ask about.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
And you know what? The UPS store is there too, and that's a critical area to be able to pick up quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Okay, well, I think it looks like we have exhausted. Oh no, I am wrong. Joanne Carey, we have, and Joanne has a question.
Yes, hi. Thank you, everybody, first of all, for all the work you're doing. I had 3 questions.
3 questions.
Yeah, I'll make them pretty quick. The first one is, I have the dance studio, and I lap over all these different areas like exercise facility, gyms, organized sports, camps, childcare. So I'm in that like funny zone of where I actually am permitted to open up. I want to do it right the first time. I don't want to, go backwards and then have to redo things. So I might actually be reaching out to Valencia Music because that's a great thing. So thank you to them. The other thing is we share the private parking lot with Turning Point. I'm on the 2nd floor as well, with Turning Point and Banana Republic. And I'm coming to the end of my dance season, which I was able to switch to the Zoom platform as well. And I just had some questions about that. During the normal course of the year, that parking lot gets overcrowded with just town people as well, that aren't in our businesses. So I'm wondering, do you anticipate that happening? Because I kind of do with just everything going on in town. And then my other question is, because it is a private parking lot, if I wanted to do something in the parking lot to offer some kind of class or something, because it's private, do I need to apply for a permit in order to do that?
On the last part, if it's private property, no, the only thing you do not need to apply for a permit. The only thing that you do need to make sure, because I was working with the Westfield Diner who's putting up a tent in their parking lot, you just had to make sure that it is the fire, like it's, fire code compliant and things like that. So, but you don't need a permit. You just need to make sure it's compliant with all the safety precautions. So it's good to give everybody a heads up about what you're doing.
Yep.
And making sure. And regarding your parking, I think I don't think any of us really know, to answer your question. So I think what you can say is you brought it to our attention and we'll just monitor it. But if it becomes an issue, you just need to let us know. Right. So and then we'll work with you to address it. But I think it's hard to anticipate how much it's going to be. But like I said, we're certainly here to help you out.
Yeah, and I guess too, because like everybody, I want to bring the people in I need to bring in to clean the facility, to all those types of things, and the only access I have, my door is only off the parking lot. Right. So I want to be able, for if there's a floor cleaner that needs to come in, the carpet cleaner that needs to come in, they need to have that direct access, of course, without interfering with Turning Point and Banana. But if the parking lot's full, they won't have anywhere to go. So that's just my own, I'm thinking ahead in that respect. That's all.
Well, you get just let the DWC team know, and they'll work with our parking enforcement and with you to make it work for you.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So now I think we have finally come to the end of the questions. If there are
Bob, I have one more question for you.
The mayor has.
We've been focusing on downtown, but we haven't talked about South Avenue.
Yeah.
So are there any? So on South Avenue, where it's sidewalk specific, right? So so there isn't anything specific that needs to happen on South Ave.
No, it's all the same throughout. Nothing specific for South Avenue.
Okay.
The same rules and regs will apply.
I think we have another question.
Yes, we do. We have a question from
Patricia.
Yes.
Hi. Hi, Patricia.
Hi, good morning to all of you, and thank you very much for everything you're doing. My question is about the tables. Old Havana has very heavy wooden tables. I want to know, we're gonna set up, we usually put tablecloths and napkins, and if we're using our silverware and the plates are extremely heavy, my doors, the previous owner left the doors. They are very difficult to operate if per se myself or my daughter will have to wait at the table outside, the food outside, extremely hard and heavy to carry. I have no idea how I'm gonna do this. Are we gonna use different kind of plates, or are we allowed to use paper plates, plastic, silverware? I'm very confused about how to do this. So please, if anyone can just help me out to understand if it's gonna be worth to participate in. Thank you.
Sure. So as far as I know, there are no prohibitions that I have seen to using paper or plastic plates, silverware, any of that. The cups, plastic cups. I haven't seen anything. If I come across it, I will let you know, but I haven't seen any regulations that prohibit the use of that. So if that makes it easier for you to serve, you certainly can do that in terms of trying to make it work for you, because I understand this is not, the typical way for a lot of our food establishments to operate. A lot of them don't have outdoor dining or have never had it. So they don't know how it's all going to work. So, please feel free to reach out to us, myself, Nikki, or Beth, and we'll try to make something work for you for sure.
Can I ask, what are your thoughts about moving the tables back in at the end of the evening? Do the tables need to be moved back every day?
You're asking me, Nikki?
Yeah, do you know?
Yeah, well, that, they don't have to be. That's an individual decision for each establishment. So if you
That
feel,
was my question.
if you feel comfortable that no one's going to walk away with your very, very heavy tables, then, then you can leave them out. I don't have any issue with that. I don't think the town does. Although mayor or councilwoman, you can weigh in on that. But, that's an individual risk decision that each establishment has to make.
Can we rent tables, like light tables that are foldable? I have a friend who has a business who came up with a concept with this material that is super light. You can essentially carry one chair with your finger. And he offered me in the past for if I would like to do anything different. I'm talking about, not about Old Havana, but I'm concerned because my tables are heavy, and unfortunately, sorry to mention this, but some of the pedestrians with their puppies and pets, they are being not able to move them fast enough. They're peeing on my sign, the sign that I put outside every day. And imagine if they start doing the same with the wooden tables. They are going to be stained and stink, and it's difficult to remove because those tables are very heavy. So I don't see myself or my husband carrying tables in and out every night. And if it rains, the wood is gonna get ruined.
Right.
So I have a lot of concerns about
So you absolutely can put out those tables that your friend offers. And in fact, I'll go one step further and say, if you want to share their contact info with us, we can, include them on our vendor list, that if other restaurants want to reach out and rent from them, they're happy to do so.
Absolutely. And thank you.
It sounds like I mean, one thing I think all the businesses need to consider is also the ability to clean and sanitize the materials that they have. So it sounds like the tables that you're describing are probably easier to clean. I think if you can have, high-end disposable utensils, I think actually the residents will actually want that, because, and the other thing I know some people are doing is providing paper disposable menus. Right. So that either can be thrown away. And I know Ferraro's is putting their whole menu on an app, so that you just can use it on your phone when you step in. So the more you can provide that people don't have to reuse or touch, the more likely you're going to get customers.
Right. And if you don't want to invest in an app, and I can understand why you wouldn't at this point, almost every establishment has some sort of a website. Put the menu on your website, because everyone's got a smartphone. And when they're outdoor dining, all they have to do is type in Old Havana. There's the menu right there.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good luck.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Wish you all the same. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Councilwoman, did you have a point you wanted to make? I saw you.
I wanted to encourage the rental tables or an investment in something lighter. I would think that if your tables are in front of your personal place, you can leave them up overnight. I just also want to remind everybody that they cannot do that with the tables that they've expanded, that those will have to be broken down every evening.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I think now we have finally.
I did have a question.
Oh, there's one more. Okay.
I'm sorry. We're talking about all the outdoor stuff. I have noticed that they are not enforcing paying for parking or giving tickets. I actually called to see, and they said for now it is they are not doing that. When is it anticipated that people will have to start paying for parking again? Because also the tent that I have outside is on the corner there, and I want to make sure I'm clear of that machine that people pay for parking.
I think we had discussed the idea of starting to enforce parking again on July 5th or July 6th, whatever that Monday is after the 4th of July. I think we want to see how the downtown, like, you know, if we're not getting any people downtown for the first 3 weeks of this trial, you know, I don't know if we're going to be doing parking enforcement, but we hope if we start enforcing parking again, that's a really good sign. So as of now, we definitely know through the end of June, we won't be enforcing parking, but you guys will absolutely get a big heads up, and the public will too, when we begin. But we're thinking right now like July 5th, but we're just going to keep that on hold and see how the next 3 weeks goes.
Thank you.
Great.
We also, quite honestly, part of it is we don't want to get in that people in the habit of that they'll never have to pay for parking again. So it's a fine balance between, you know, making sure that we get people downtown as much as possible, but also not feeling people like that the value of the parking is going to be free permanently. So.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're at an hour. So I really want to thank Mayor Brindle, Councilwoman Mackey, my team, Nikki and Beth, and everybody for participating in this. As soon as possible, we're going to put this webinar up on our website. And we'll be sending out a press release shortly for the media about our reopening plan. And I think it's a really good plan. Like I said, we had everybody's participation and cooperation. Let's make this work, and let's bring downtown back bigger and stronger than ever.
And thank you, Bob. And it's been a lot of work. Welcome to Westfield. You know? But I want to thank the business owners, and I just want to reiterate, you know, communication is key, and this is really a partnership between, you know, the DWC and the town and our businesses. So like I said, people just need to speak up if things aren't working. Let Bob know. We need to know what to adapt and how to adapt. And the only other thing I'll mention is please help us help you by keeping your places as clean as possible. We do anticipate with many more folks outside that trash is going to become more of an issue. Our public works is going to add shifts, but please just, you know, and especially if we're putting tables on adjacent businesses, we just need to make sure that we're all great and courteous neighbors, and we'll obviously encourage the public to do the same. But, you know, we'll all have to work together to make this happen, and just know that we're here to serve you. And but we need to all work together, and we're open to change, and we just ask everybody else is as well.
Thank you, Mayor Brindle. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
See you downtown.
That's right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.